Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Franchise Tag Podcast, kicking off week 15 of NFL action here on this fine Thursday morning. Going to do, as we always do, go over our pick'ems results from last week, go over some topics, continue everybody's favorite no-name players, and got some pretty interesting other things to go through today as well. Some stock moves to make, and then next week's pick'ems to make as well. Just to kick things off in the pick'ems category, last week wasn't super
Oh,
hot for either of us, but I went 8-7,
mhm.
so I was slightly better, bringing my total to 125 and 83. And my lock on the Dolphins did not hit, so I am now 10-4 in the locks category, but that's okay.
Yeah, I want to point out that horrendous idea of both of us to put our locks on primetime games right after we made the point of like, wow, we've been kind of sucking on primetime games lately. And we were like, yeah, no, I missed on all of mine this week. You decided to put one of yours to be a tie, so you inevitably missed
Well,
on all of yours.
I
Well,
just I just
okay.
want to point out real
Mhm.
quick, we both missed on that game, and I guessed a tie. So
Yeah. Granted, we did have the Cowboys beating the Eagles, but we still lost three primetime games, so
I
it still doesn't feel like we accomplished
I do want
anything.
to point out one other thing. The game you were going to put your lock on was the Texans Jets.
Yeah,
And
and
I
that
feel like
also would
that
have
would have been
made
a bigger
mhm,
damn than the one
upset.
point loss. Like, yeah, it's an
Hmm.
upset, but Tommy DeVito kind of rolling right now, I'll be honest. That man's cooking and you know, cooking up a meatball parm. That
Tommy
is
Cutlets.
Tommy Cutlets.
I think the bigger like upset is just the fact of like who the Packers just lost to after who they've been beating.
Yeah,
Like
they've been looking very, very
they beat the
good.
Lions and then they beat the Chiefs. Granted, there was the whole refing on the Chiefs game, and we'll get into another ref issue on the Chiefs game uh, down the line here. But my record for the week was 7-8. My pick missed, so I'm 10-4 on my picks. I am 134-74 on the year for my overall record.
Yeah, so you're doing a little bit better than me overall. Same in the locks. But this week I finally had a better record than you. I think that's the first time all season that that's happened, where
Yep,
I've had a
you
better
finally caught
overall
up.
week record than you. Uh,
It might be like the second time. Maybe we tied once. I feel like
well,
you've had
we've
it better
tied
than me
before
at least
for
once.
sure, but
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had a better, like a definitively better
Hmm.
record than you at the like in a single week. I do want to real quick, just because I mean, we don't really have anything to say about the 3-0 game we saw, because what is there to say about that game? But I predicted a 0-0 tie in the wrong game. It was very close to that, and I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, you were.
I was
Oh
like,
man,
"There's gonna be
that
a
was
0-0 tie this week, and it's gonna be the Patriots and Steelers," and it was almost not the Patriots and Steelers.
I was just kind of watching that clock dwindle and seeing like, oh, it's still 0-0 in the third quarter. Oh, it's still 0-0 with like 6 minutes left. And just kind of getting really excited and looking up like NFL scoregami, being like, when's the last time this happened? Just really invested in a game that was 0-0.
Yeah. And then on that Thursday night matchup with the Patriots and Steelers, Zeke looked really good, and it makes me kind of happy to see that he still has a bit left in the tank. He was kind of understandably grouped in with Dalvin Cook because those were like the two big name veteran
Late.
kind of
Yeah.
late career running backs that got signed, and Dalvin has just been like, I mean, all respect to the man for what he did in Minnesota, but he's been rough in New York. Like, he has not had very good runs. I'm looking up his stats on the season right now just to see if maybe I'm lying to you.
Misremembering something.
Yeah, I mean, he has not had double digit carries in a game since week one. And in week one, he averaged 2.5 yards a carry. And on the season, he's averaging just over 3 yards a carry, which isn't terrible. I mean, 3 yards a carry will get you first downs every single drive. But those are carried by two games halfway through the season, or a little bit a few weeks ago, where he had 2 carries for 13 yards and 4 carries for 26 yards in two separate games. So all those games where he's had like decent averages are when he hasn't been touching the ball that much. Anytime he goes over 5 carries, it looks rough. So um,
Yeah.
I was just
Comparatively,
comparatively to how
Z-
Zeke went.
yeah, Zeke's been pretty mid, but I mean, 134 carries, nearly 500 yards, averaging 3.7 on the year. He's actually getting a workload given to him every now and then. So
Yeah, and the other thing is you know, his rushing stats from Thursday night didn't like jump off the stat sheet. Like he wasn't crazy efficient. I think he averaged like 3 yards a carry, but he also went 7 for 72 in the pass game and had that touchdown. So like he was just kind of doing what he could to help the team, and he looked good doing it. So he didn't look like he didn't look like Austin Eckler running on that one play where he was moving at like 13 miles an hour at his top speed on a 40-yard run. Like he actually looked like he was moving. He was looking pretty good. And I'm happy for that. I don't hate Zeke now that he's not on the Cowboys. And
do you like him more that he's a Patriot, or
than a
just being
Cowboy,
on a different
yes,
team?
but being on a different
Yeah.
team at all. Like
Okay. I was wondering how
also
where the bias was coming from.
also I think that when he was a Cowboy, all his celebrations and everything would always like be, you know, with the Cowboys, they're a little bit over the top. Anytime anything big happens, it's a big celebration. They're a big team, you know?
Hmm.
And now he's like, I haven't heard him say anything that's like
The
disrespectful or I should be getting
tattoo
more
hate
touches or
Zeke.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I haven't heard him complain about anything, and it's just kind of like he's appreciative of having a role anywhere, I think.
Mm.
And that's always something that I'll support is just somebody to have. And I mean, shout out to Dalvin too for that because he hasn't made any complaints or anything like that. He's just been a little bit less efficient and less explosive.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. Dalvin really got the short end of the stick joining the team with Aaron Rodgers and how their quarterback season's gone, and I think that segues pretty nicely into the thing you have here highlighted.
Zach Wilson, man, let me pull up his stats from this game. He looked good. I mean, he's had some solid performances. His game against the Chiefs was really good. Um, and then this most recent game, he went 27 to 36, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Just an efficient game. And he hasn't played in almost a month. Last game before this one that he played was November 19th against the Bills,
Mm-hmm.
where he went 7 for 15 with a touchdown, a pick, 81 yards. Like not a
Jim
good
Boyle
game.
went in.
Yeah. And now he comes in
Yeah.
against a team that is rolling in the Texans and just puts up a monster stat line and blows them out of the water.
Only good performances I'd say from him are those two you mentioned, the Chiefs and the Texans, or sorry, Chiefs and yeah, the Texans this past week. Only games where he's had multiple TDs.
But from going from someone who is benched because he's not doing that well to putting up a solid stat line against a good team and winning the game,
Mm-hmm.
it's cool to see.
Yeah. And sticking on to the Jets and the Texans game here, we saw probably CJ Stroud's worst performance. Not to mention he ended that off with an injury. Um, the Texans already were kind of struggling coming into the game, missing Dalton. They were missing who was the wide receiver that
Tank,
they were missing already? Yeah,
Tank Dell.
Tank Dell, and then Nico Collins got hurt during the game.
Hmm.
So very limited in probably what they were expecting to be able to do coming into the game, especially against the Jets defense. You don't want to be hurting on offense.
Yeah,
You
and
want to have everyone you
another thing,
possibly can.
I'm not sure if Noah Brown went out during the game at all, but he ended with no catches. So
Yeah.
he accrued no stats. If he was in, that's a rough look from a guy who was putting up
He was
multiple.
in and targeted 5 times.
Wow.
So I don't know what the targets looked like per se, but I mean, coming down with 0 of them,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, is it, their DBs? Is it he's not getting separation and getting open because of their DBs? Were they just breaking up passes, or were the passes, stray?
Yeah.
Um, there was really just no like steam. They really didn't get momentum going. I mean, the freaking start of the game when you're looking at like drive summaries and it's just the entirety of the first half is punts by both teams. And I was like, wow, that's comical. Vikings Raiders. I was
Yeah,
like, oh
yeah,
geez. Um the the Texans are able to capitalize off of a fumble for their only touchdown, and then they failed to get anything extra after that. Shout out Matt Ammendola. But
yeah.
6:30 was your final score there, and CJ Stroud going down with injury after such a performance, it's kind of just the cherry on top there.
Yeah. The only other things from Sunday we've got a few other things from Sunday, but during the Seahawks and 49ers game, DK had 2 catches for 52 yards and a touchdown. And I was just looking at that number at work and I was like opening up the fantasy app and just like, did he catch any more? Did he catch any? He was ejected. I didn't know that. It didn't tell me that in the fantasy app, but he got ejected for,
It didn't say like out, bro.
yeah, it didn't because he wasn't injured, so they don't put a status on it.
Mhm.
Um,
Fair enough.
but yeah, I was just like, man, what's DK doing? Why he not doing stuff? And yeah, it's because he got into it with Fred Warner. And earlier in the week, Shanahan had joked, "Hey, we're gonna get in 14's head. Whoever gets him ejected gets Christmas presents." And like now, Fred Warner better get a nice little present in his locker, a nice little game
Well,
check.
so did you like see the clips of the situation? Because I was so confused because I kept seeing
Dude.
like all the Twitter posts were like, okay, DK's getting into it with Fred Warner, and then like the next Twitter post I find is, oh, DK's ejected with Diamador and Lenore, and it's like, well, how did Lenore just get mixed up in this? What's
Well,
going
it's
on?
because it's that defense, they just kind of get mixed up with whatever.
They roll as a squad.
Oh, so DK grabs Fred Warner's face mask and then throws him
Yeah,
away.
after
And
getting
then,
like blocked late.
yeah. And then, oh, it's because Warner was chirping at him. Okay. And then
Mhm.
Lenore comes in or no, that's not Lenore. Where's Lenore? Why did
I
he get
know. I was so
ejected?
confused.
What the heck?
I was like, every clip that shows Fred Warner does not show Lenore. Why is Lenore being ejected? And I could not find anything.
Okay. I'd imagine it's just like, hey, we got to throw
Yeah,
one
he
of those
comes in.
49ers out of there. All right, Kyle, pick one. And he was
Yeah,
like,
here's a
who can
scrub.
we lose?
Oh, dang. Just calling out Diamador like that.
Shout out Diamador, 2021 draft class. We love you. Uh,
No, you're right.
or the last thing from Sunday during the day was the Bills Chiefs and that whole
Yes.
event.
Good old.
You know who Nick Wright is, right?
Yeah. He's the
Professional Patrick
Chiefs
Mahomes
writer.
slobber.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. He's got a seat. It's like a giant saddle on a horse, and it's just named Patrick Mahomes, and he just rides that all day, man.
look, all right. I disagree with him with almost every take. Not because I don't like Patrick Mahomes, or not because I don't think he's the best quarterback in the league, just because everything's so like
He goes so
he
extra
does.
with it.
He does so much extra, and it made me feel weird agreeing with him for once. And his take on it was basically just the refs should have given the warning, and
Yeah,
the consensus from around the league, from from other like coaches, from players, from everybody is like, yeah, if an offensive player is lined up offsides, the ref tells him, hey, get back. And
mhm.
I think what the actual consensus, like, I looked a little bit further into it, and what actually happens is the receiver is supposed to look over at the ref and ask him like, hey, am I
Yeah,
set? Am I good?
yeah.
And
That's like day one, like football camp, like middle school, high school, every level. They're like, okay, when you're lining up and you're the online wide receiver, you're gonna look to the ref and you're gonna look at the ball, and you're gonna line up with the ball and you're gonna look to the ref and you're gonna be like, hey, I'm good, right? And then they're gonna give you a nod, they're gonna give you a signal of some kind, and that's basic stuff.
yeah, I played linebacker, so
You
I was always a
didn't worry
little bit on
about
the
that, huh?
taller side, so they didn't put me at receiver because they wanted the little 5'5" kids running around at receiver. They threw
Oh
me at
man, all those
they
5'5"
threw
kids.
they threw 6 foot middle school me at linebacker, and they were like, yeah, go out there, have some fun. Uh,
Mhm.
but yeah, so I never went through that. But yeah, so I did see an angle of Kadarius Toney kind of looking over at the ref, but it was as he was getting to his spot, not after he was in his spot. So it seems like he just kind of skipped that step. So in that essence, I kind of get it. But at the same time, the Andy Reid stat about how many offensive snaps he's called, and that is the only one that has ever been called offensive offsides, and he's the one that's saying the refs always tell me something, and they didn't this time. And then the refs doubled down on it, and they're like, well, just because we always do it doesn't mean we have to do it.
Yeah, dude.
It's
that was the reading through that was like, oh, okay, they're really trying to cover themselves here, and it was like, actually, this sucks.
yeah.
This
So
is a horrible explanation, like excuse here.
I'm kind of split down the middle where I'm like, Tony was offsides. Yes. I also saw the angle of the ref moving so that he could see the ball, which is like, damn, he's like he is offsides. I've also seen that Creed Humphrey, when he snaps the ball, he moves it back a little bit.
Who did it back? Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's kind
Because
of like,
even on like the broadcast, like the blue line that is line of scrimmage, he hit the ball's there, and then you blink for a second, and then Creed has the ball a little bit further back because he scooted it like and to snap it. And
yeah.
it's like, okay, well, maybe the ref had to move because he scooted it back, so then he has to, put
But
that angle on it.
either way, I'm kind of like split where it's like both sides have an argument of like, yeah, Kadarius Toney was pretty blatantly offsides, but also the refs normally give warnings. They should have. And in any time where I'm like in a split decision and one side of the equation is the refs, I'm going to go to the other side every single time, especially this season. Last week ref rant,
It's been horrendous.
so it's been pretty bad.
And it's just a coincidence they were both about the Chiefs. I don't know what it is. I actually have a proposition for our next season that we just have a segment called Ref Burn Book. And it's just, all right, who's getting added today? Like here, we're going to be tracking which ref makes the calls that we dislike throughout the whole year. Just have a nice little tally there. Because, hey, I've had to look up just about every ref so far when I'm making thumbnails at this point. So
yeah,
might as well get an actual.
You want to make sure you're not putting a good ref on a thumbnail that says we're banning the refs.
Yeah. Well, no, that guy was Brad Allen was correct. Anyways, One final note I have on it is there was the analysis saying like, oh well, here's other snaps that Kadarius Toney lined up offsides for. It's like, okay, then why wasn't any of those other like supposedly, I think it was 4 that I'd seen where he had lined up offsides 4 times, and then the 4th time, the one that's a touchdown that decides the game, is the one that was the one that got the penalty. And I'm not saying like, oh, they're only calling it because of the result because they flag it immediately.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say.
They're not. They're letting it slide, and they're giving no warnings all 3 times. Like, okay, it's commonplace. You either tell the receiver to get back, and there's the clip of like, we know that Kadarius looked. It's not like he wasn't looking, but you either tell them like, hey, get back some, or you let it slide, and you give the coach a warning like, hey, you need to get this guy back some. And you had 3 attempts at that beforehand, and they were like, yeah, we're just actually not going to do that. And then when it matters, we're going to make sure we flag it.
I know the common thing is to look at the Super Bowl last year with the Chiefs and that DPI call where it was like it's ticky-tack and it's in the middle of like a really intense moment of a really important game. And it's kind of easy to say this is the same thing where it's ticky-tack and it's in an intense moment in a similar part of the game. And the Chiefs fans were like, no, but that's DPI. And now they're like, why the hell did they call that? And I get it. I get that it's easy to hate on the Chiefs, but we have to recognize that the real common enemy is the refs. Okay, let's get on the same page.
Yeah,
we good? We're good.
You can't just be like, oh, the refs are always in favor of the Chiefs because statistically this season they're not. But they, you can't really cling to like the Chiefs. I don't like the Chiefs, so I like it when calls go against them. Like, no, let's just not like when calls are bad in general.
And speaking of who the refs like, they seem to like the Eagles this season, but the Eagles just aren't good enough to win with the refs. The Cowboys though, who played the Eagles, let's get into that a little bit. They are rolling, and we kind of predicted the underdog to upset in that game. Like,
Uh-huh.
It was a pretty easy toss up, but I think that just the way the Eagles have been playing, they haven't been playing to win games, and I said the same thing last week, and I will keep saying that. Um, but yeah, the
They're shooting
Cowboys,
themselves in the foot. It
yeah,
feels like at least once every drive, there's just something that's like, oh, what are we doing here? And it just happened a couple more drives than usual.
yeah, and the Cowboys look really, really good right now. Like they look like they're going to be scary if they keep everything going come playoff time. I know there's a little bit of criticism on Dak in the playoffs and just the Cowboys in the playoffs in general. And if they can kind of buck those trends and keep this strong play up, we may be looking at a Super Bowl contender. It's all just going to depend on how the Cowboys look against the 49ers. Because if we're being honest with ourselves, those are the two top dogs in the NFC. And both teams have beat the Eagles. I'm not misquoting that, right? The 49ers did beat the Eagles, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, both teams have beaten the Eagles. And both teams look like winning football teams where some of the other top dogs in the NFC don't as much. And they look like they have been, but just not like a consistent thing where the Cowboys and Niners are consistent. And obviously, one of the Cowboys' losses is to the fucking Cardinals. So it's a bit rough there, but
What is this season? I mean, come on.
yeah. Um, so that's the Cowboys talk. We've
Yeah.
got a couple injuries to talk about, and then to get into Monday night a little bit. I think I said all I care to say about it during pick'ems of just like what the hell happened, but yeah. So in that Texans Jets game, we already talked about how Stroud and Nico Collins got injured. Will Anderson also got injured. Do we have any updates on that one?
I am looking it up right now. So continue down the list.
Okay. We also had Justin Herbert fracturing his right index finger. He is having surgery on that finger and is out for the year. We got to look at his fingers, man, because I feel like that's like his third finger injury of his career. But
He's got to get some curls going, get those
start
little
working those
some
fingies
weights.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's done for the year. We'll see a lot of Easton Stick moving forward. Very happy for that. And then also saw Justin Jefferson and Josh Jacobs get injured in that shit show that we saw in Vegas, in Minnesota, in one of those places. Basically the same thing. Yeah, Justin Jefferson coming off of injury and immediately going back down with injury is just not a good look for him.
Pain, bro.
Yeah. I picked the Vikings in that matchup because they had Justin Jefferson back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Justin Jefferson went down in the first half and was ruled out. Or I don't know if it was first half or third quarter, but he went down with a decent amount of time left and was ruled out. And then the Vikings did still end up winning 3-0. So
Yeah,
great pick.
I'm seeing no updates on Will Anderson. The injury is to his knee, but
Yeah.
I'm seeing nothing on where he's
Oh,
trending.
the Dolphins center, I believe, tore his ACL and he is out for the year. So let me get that. Dolphins center. Yeah, starting center.
Will Clapp.
Connor Williams. Connor Williams tore his ACL. And we also had Tyreek Hill go down in that game and kind of not play a part. And that's the other thing. That's the only other thing I wanted to talk about with the Monday night games is that Tyreek Hill, by textbook definition, is clearly the MVP. He is the most valuable player to his team. There is nobody at all in the league that could get injured and have their team fall apart with in such spectacular fashion like the Dolphins did against the Titans. And was it partially their defense's fault because they let the Titans just drive down the field the last two drives? Yeah, of course it was the defense's fault. But the offense couldn't get a first down, one first down to end the game. That's all they needed was one, and they couldn't do it. And they had Tyreek, I think, by that point in the game, but it didn't seem to matter. They weren't using him to his full potential. They were still kind of treating his ankle as if it was not at 100%. And when he went down, I was like, oh, he's done. Like, that was such an awkward fall and an awkward, like, landing. And then he was very clearly in pain. And then 2 seconds later, it cuts to a camera shot of him running off the field. And I was like, oh, okay, sure, bud.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the few times I've ever been ahead of you on a broadcast because you're like, no, and I'm like, homie's running around. What are you talking about? And then the follow-up text came in, and I was like, all right, I'm ahead.
Yeah,
Nice.
I was watching that one on the NFL app, so that app is always a little bit behind.
Mm. Yeah,
So like,
NFL, get your stuff together. Come
dude,
on.
you own the league, man. Shout out NFL Plus Premium. I enjoy the condensed game replays. Give me a free subscription next year, please.
Free subscription. I don't
That'd
think
be
we're
great,
big
man.
fish enough for NFL to give two flying shits because they don't even give Pat McAfee stuff for free.
That's true. That's true. We got some news today on Patriots quarterback slash receiver practice squad member elite man Malik Cunningham. And the Patriots
What intro?
also didn't really didn't really mention this earlier. They're eliminated from the playoffs despite winning, so they
Mm-hmm.
are no longer in playoff contention. But
Who would have thunk?
you know, I
They
thought
were
they were
really
gonna win it
looking
all
bright.
this year.
Uh-huh.
But
We
yeah,
thought sitting at their pretty record of 3-10.
anywho, Malik Cunningham, that's who we're talking about. Haven't gotten to the news
Uh-huh.
yet.
Yep.
Ravens signed him, so he's gonna go off. I just know they're gonna put him in receiver packages, throw it back to him, and he's just gonna launch it down the field to OBJ or something.
Really
It's
good.
just
If the defense isn't alert to that possibility, that's the on defense's fault. Like, come on.
yeah, that's fair. But I believe that is all of the topics that we have outside of your wish to discuss the shoddy quarterback play this
Yeah.
season as a whole, and then our best players by numbers for 41 through 50.
It's interesting because I started off and I named the like segment like why do we think quarterbacks are worse? And I was like, I think quarterbacks are worse. So I'm gonna just say why are they worse? But as I'm looking at it, I think it might actually be why do we think? Um, because just to use some PFF grading here, um, Mahomes last season was ranked at a 91.3, currently a 90 so far this season, and
For his receiver play, that's an absurdly high grade. Like,
it is. I think it's factoring in receiver play
oh,
because of. I
okay.
mean, if you think about it, how he has 11 interceptions on this year. How many of those are probably off of a drop or
I was
off
gonna say
of
how many of those went through Tony's hands.
exactly? I mean, one of them, day one, week one, was a pick six straight off of Tony's hands. So, um,
No
shout
shade to
out
Kadarius
Brian
Tony.
Branch.
Playing wide receiver in the NFL is very tough. So
Shout out Brian Branch.
shout out Kadarius Tony. Keep your head up, work on your hands a little bit, and you'll be good.
Yeah, I think the worst part of the game was like the little clip when they showed Kadarius Toney just sitting on the sideline after the fact, like he's just benched for the play after
Mm.
that, and I was like, oh, homies feel so bad right now. Continuing on, uh, Josh Allen was 91.6. Currently, he's a 91, so minimal drop off for Mahomes and Allen. Joe Burrow, that's a bit of an anomaly.
Yeah,
He played he
an
played injury prone, and then he got injured, so it's like we can't really
he had
account for
probably
that.
3 games where he was fully healthy
Mm-hmm.
this season. So I'm assuming he had a sizable drop off.
Yep, from a 90.8 to a 77.8.
Yeesh.
So that's the big drop off, but I think that's more of
It's
the
skewed
anomaly, not
from
so much like, yeah,
yeah. It was the first few games he played with the injured calf, and then
probably like 4 weeks. Yeah.
yeah, and then he played a few weeks and then tore the ligament in his wrist. So
Yeah. The big drop off, kind of what spurred me into thinking like, why do quarterbacks suck? And it was Mahomes' stats, but I mean, his wide receivers, and then it was Jalen Hurts,
Jalen
and
Hurts
Jalen Hurts,
he hasn't passed the eye test this year. I think is the difference.
he really hasn't.
If stats are the same, he just has not looked comfortable throwing the ball. And he has the same weapons. It's not like he's lost any huge names. Like he's
Yeah,
got AJ
it's the
Brown, he's
same
got
group.
Devontae Smith, he's got Dallas Goddard, and arguably a better running back. I mean,
Yeah,
look at DeAndre Swift compared to
Miles Sanders
Miles
right now
Sanders
on the
this year.
Panthers. Granted, the
Yeah,
Panthers just completely or can't figure
granted,
anything out.
best O line in the league, whatever. But I think, I mean, compare Swift this year to Sanders last year, and I think Swift is
Hmm.
better.
Yeah, Swift is doing the thing he did for the Lions, where he is doing elite like bursts. He knows when to cut. Jalen is the only one I'd say that actually has like. There's no reason for the drop off besides his own play. and that is a drop off from just 85.9 to 83.4. And I feel that the 85.9 is kind of weighted because it's so much lower than the other three I mentioned for the guy who made it to the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's only passing. It's not accounting for the fact that he can get a first down whenever he wants because he's getting shoved across the O-line. Like, that's not going to be a positively graded play.
I'm glad that isn't counted though, if we're being honest.
Yeah. And then, I mean, comes at a bad time to mention it after his season-ending injury, but Herbert and Tua are my last ones on this list. Both saw massive improvements. So far, Tua had 20 TDs and 7 interceptions. Last year, he had 25 to 10. And his play overall is better because last season he was a 78.6 on PFF, and so far this season he was at an 85.4.
Sorry, we were talking Herbert or Tua, right? Herbert, okay.
That was Herbert. So that was Herbert. And then Tua, we're comparing a injury-prone last season to his current season.
Injury prone. His O-line was letting him get his head slammed against the ground a couple too many times.
Yeah, I suppose. See, injury-prone is not exactly a good word for getting pummeled into the turf/dirt. Which, I mean, to be honest, we should just have to say grass and get it together, NFL. But Tua's last year grade was 81.9, and to this year's grade of 88.9. And when you're just going off a PFF grade, like Mahomes and Allen being that high after what we perceive to be their like season so far, I mean, Josh Allen is leading the league in interceptions. Mahomes is second, I believe, and like has way worse wide receivers, and it feels like every other deep ball Josh Allen chucks up is a pick.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's kind of just a perception because of yardage along with TDs, because when you're having these drives that are ending in interceptions, be it because of your wide receivers, fumbling the bag, or you making a bad decision, that is a whole drive that you're being like taken from you. Any stat you could get for the rest of that drive is like null. So when you're having drives that are just being like cut short, and you're not having the like big stats that you were used to from your previous season, it's less that they suck now, and more so that when they make a mistake, it's a lot more costly because the defenses are like, or rather not the defense, but the opposing offenses are geared to like, okay, well, let's not let them have the ball for a long time, and they're going to keep the ball out of their hands, and they're not going to give them as many opportunities to chuck it deep. I mean, I feel like Mahomes kind of had that happen fresh after like the Super Bowl, where they were like starting to take away deep shots, and the only time he would hit a deep shot is if it was Tyreek. But Josh Allen still just be hucking those things when it feels like clearly they are not trying to let that be allowed on them anymore.
Yeah. Sorry, I was not really paying too much attention. I was going into a rabbit hole of the 2020 draft class. So we were talking about Herbert and Tua, and my mind just went, what if the Dolphins took Herbert?
I mean, so many things could have happened. So many points of time. I mean, Jalen fell so far.
Yeah.
That was the same draft class, right?
It was. It was Burrow first, Tua 5th, Herbert 6th. And then
Jalen like 52nd.
Love's 22nd and Hurts 54th, I think. Something like that. Some sort of numbers. We're getting off on a tangent.
Pretty impressive draft class for the for 4 of the 6 names that are considered top 6 at the end of last season.
Jordan Love was getting talked up by some people after last week as like, is the worst quarterback in this draft class actually the first one taken? And it's like, no. No, Jordan Love is not better than any other quarterback in that draft class. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Yeah,
wait.
You have so few takes.
Not the whole draft class. Not the whole draft class. Sorry. Jake Fromm is not better.
2020 quarterback.
Jake Fromm. I think there was Captain Morgan. Not Captain Morgan. There was something
Captain Morgan.
Captain
okay,
Morgan.
Hold on. You drinking? Hitting the bottle, my guy?
Anywho,
Yeah.
best players by numbers, 41 to 50. We ready for that one?
Uh-huh. We
All
can
right.
we can pile drive that one into the ground.
Yeah, we're gonna run through this one real quick. At
Mm-hmm.
41, got two names. I think you probably have the same two: Josh Allen and Alvin Kamara.
Josh Allen. No, I'm just kidding. I also got those same two
Josh
guys.
Allen, he wears 17.
Yeah, get it right, bozo.
The better Josh Allen, bud. Uh,
Yeah, where were you? Which
I'll
one are you
take
going here?
I'll take Josh Allen just because Kamara I feel like is not as efficient of a running back as
As
his
he used to be.
fantasy users would believe. Spoken from a
I know.
perspective
He
of a
won me
Kamara
that
fantasy
this
user.
game.
Uh, yeah, I've got Kamara in fantasy, so I love him. But as far as like actual rushing efficiency, he is good. He's better than Eckler when it comes to rushing efficiency. He's not all receiving like Eckler is,
Yeah, he's
but
not
a
all
good amount
fantasy
of
based.
his success is fantasy based. And I'm probably gonna eat my words, so I'm gonna just look up his stats from this season because again, we're taking them for their current
Josh Allen so far
usage.
this season has 13.5 sacks, and I'm
I got
currently
yeah, I'm
looking up
taking
the
Josh
perfect
Allen.
number.
Bye bye.
Hmm.
He's been okay, but Kamara, he's been okay, but he isn't. I mean, he had that one game with like 14 catches for 35 yards. Like he's a PPR monster, but
Always.
yeah,
That's something, man.
he
I'll tell you that.
is something. So yeah, I'm taking Josh Allen at 41. Moving on to 42, we've got like a franchise tagged favorite in here
Oh
in the
yay!
2021 draft class, Tony
uh,
Fields. Shout out the boy.
mm-hmm.
And then
Tony
also
Fields the
another
second.
one,
Get it right.
another franchise tagged favorite, just because he's a fullback in the league. We got Project Pat Ricard. And you know what?
If
As
you say
much as I
so.
love Tony Fields, I think I'm going to load my team with fullbacks and I'm going to take Pat Ricard here. And maybe
Yeah,
one of them
I
can play
think
tight end.
I think both of us might be going the Shanahan route with how loaded we're making ourselves, but I'm also going to be taking a Project Pat here.
Yeah. At 43, I got two guys written down: Justice Hill, running back for the Ravens, and Andrew Van Ginkel, linebacker in the league somewhere.
Somewhere. Lee currently. I don't want to get this wrong, so I'm just pulling it up. I thought it was Dolphins. I was right. Yes.
Justice Hill is currently averaging 4.5 yards a carry in his career and on the season. He has 66 touches, 290 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's part of a rotational backfield that doesn't favor like a ton of success, but he's been okay. I think Keaton Mitchell and Gus Edwards are both better than him. And if you have Van Ginkel's page pulled up, do you know how good he has been this year?
I actually have a whole nother player that
Uh,
you did not mention
Oh,
that I also have pulled up, but I'll get to Van Ginkel first here. So far, Van Ginkel has played. I would just want to get snap count. He's played 65% of snaps so far. And on those snaps, he is looking. I mean, he's looking pretty good in coverage. He's allowed no touchdowns.
is a pick
Average
six.
completion of 6 yards. He has the touchdown, and tackle wise, he has 31 solo, 20 assisted. He has 7 TFLs and 12 quarterback hits.
That's
So
some solid play.
he's having a pretty solid year for how do I say this without getting trucked in real life?
An
Andrew
off-ball
Van Ginkel.
linebacker.
Uh,
I just think for an off-ball linebacker, I think the play can be a little bit odd. You can have some
yeah,
weird
you can have
stats. You can
real
have
fluctuating
yeah,
years.
you can have guys that are elite that get very few tackle stats just because they're elite coverage linebackers. And then you can have guys like Foyesade Oluokun who, for all intents and purposes, isn't generally considered to be an elite player, but dude is always top 5 in the league in tackles. Like he's active, he's everywhere. So there's
And
just it's
my
a hard position to grade off stats.
mhm. my third little shout out here, I have him over Justice Hill, is Josh Johnson, DB for the Rams. He's only playing about 30% of snaps, but on those 30% of snaps, he's been targeted 17 times, allowed 8 completions for 100 yards, and allowed no TDs, QB rating of 41 when targeted.
I
So I
thought
just wanted
you were talking about Josh Johnson, the quarterback that has been on 14 different NFL teams and 27 different
No.
overall teams across
Did
all
I say
leagues.
Josh?
Yeah,
Did I
you
say
did.
Josh? It's
I think
John.
it's John
It's John
Johnson. Yeah.
Johnson. Yeah, that's who I meant. But
I think
out of those two,
I'll take
yeah.
Van Ginkel here. He's having a really good season. And then at 44, I need to see what Kyle this is. I think it's Juszczyk, but I got to double check. Because I just have Kyle written down, and as much as I'd love to just pick a Kyle,
Just grab.
yeah, it's Kyle Juszczyk. I think I just didn't want to write down Juszczyk because it's hard to spell. And then I've got Marlon Humphreys or Humphrey.
Yeah, I threw in
one single Humphrey. Sorry.
a shout out to Malcolm Rodriguez, the linebacker turned fullback.
What? Whoa, dude! I'm gonna blow your mind right now. Have you heard of a guy named Jason Kabinda? He also was a linebacker, and he also became you know how crazy that is to play linebacker and then move to the other side of the ball entirely and play fullback? Dude, it's nuts. That right there is an inside joke, ladies and gentlemen. We love Jason Kabinda.
Oh, jeez. All right.
I think I'm going to take Marlon Humphrey as wonderful of a fullback as Kyle Juszczyk is. I think if we're going pure
you don't
value,
want to like a 6-1. Come on, man.
I think as far as pure value goes, Marlon Humphrey adds more to a team than Kyle Juszczyk. And maybe if utilized properly, if utilized as a primary weapon rather than as the sixth strong weapon on a team, Kyle Juszczyk would have a bit better stats. But I mean, he's making an impact on one of the best teams in the league. So
I don't know why you're talking like Juice's greatest, like he's a utilitarian fullback. He's definitely gashes out of the backfield for some run blocks.
He does, but he's also a utility guy. Like he breaks out and catches some passes.
I feel like with their run scheme, he's definitely, I would lean more towards the
he's a versatile weapon, Elijah.
He's a versatile weapon. That's the way to say it.
Yep. Moving.
Marlon Humphrey has been good for a long time though, so I'll take Juice just to be the opposite of you, but okay, I respect the Marlon pick there.
For the next four numbers, I have a single name written down for each one. At 45, I've got Devin White. That's the boy right there.
Now, 45 is one I didn't actually look deeply at because I only saw was him. Oh, Jason Kabinda.
Oh my God. The man, the myth, the legend. Jason Kabinda.
Yeah, although
Hamza Nasruddin from the 2021 draft class, shout out.
Yeah, I will be honest, I don't particularly like Devin White as a player.
Really?
Not as a person. I feel like he's a little overhyped and
kind of a solid coverage linebacker.
Madden popularity is where a lot of people think that he's good from. And I mean, I'll leave my conversation there.
I think just in general, he's a solid linebacker. Like he's not Fred Warner, but he's solid. And compared to the other names you're seeing at number 45, like
he's at number 45, he's clearly the best. But I feel like
so you just felt the need to shit on Devin White for no reason.
I feel like he's often talked about like he's a lot better than an average linebacker.
Okay, I think he is better than an average linebacker.
Especially considering the like contract holdout status he was going to be doing with the Bucks and
yeah,
how that kind of all panned out. And moving on to number 46.
You can take this one.
Yeah, so there's Jack Campbell, a rookie here. There's did you refer to him as Fat Randy?
Yeah, Fat Randy. You didn't know he was Fat Randy? Dude, pull him up. He has the nickname Fat Randy. Swear to God.
No way. He has the nickname Fat Randy.
Just look up Fat Randy. Fat Randy NFL. Fat Randy NFL, Randy Bullock, all right?
All right.
Not even kidding.
He is that his name is now Fat Randy. There's no living
Look,
down that
look.
many
Okay, he's
combined.
5'9", 210. All right. He is Fat Randy.
I hope all that weight goes to his freaking thighs, bro.
It doesn't.
Jeez.
It
Oh
doesn't at all.
no. Get no booming kicks there.
Oh, those kicks are booming, but it ain't from the weight. Anywho,
Okay,
yeah.
so is his plate.
Yeah, I think Jack Campbell is the best player to wear number 46. He went ahead and picked himself a number that had no competition at it.
Yeah.
Also, what is it with all the kickers starting to wear numbers in the 30s or 30s and 40s? Is it like because skill positions can wear numbers like single digits? They're just like, all right,
They're
kickers, you're
losing
not getting them
numbers.
anymore.
Yeah, basically. I
Wow.
feel like there's probably a likelihood that people are just paying them. They're like, hey, you don't want this number. You want this number because I want that number. And they're like, I'm a kicker's salary. I'll take that.
That's fair, actually. Moving on to 47. I really only had Bryce Huff written down. Decent safe or D end for the Jets. 7 sacks, 14 tackles this year. Not terrible. The only other name that like is decent is Josie Jewell, and he has had 2 forced fumbles so far this year, which is impressive. But he's had a decent amount of tackles, 78 total tackles, 1 TFL, 2 QB hits. So those numbers scream to me that he plays back and just gets tackles after they let up 5 yards. And for that reason, I will be taking Bryce Huff here.
I'll be taking the Lions long snapper. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, fair enough, man. At this point, yeah, every team needs a long snapper.
Hey, what do you expect me to have long snapper right now? If I don't know that we're gonna come across many other ones. All right.
So which name is the
best
Lions
That's
long
Scott
snapper?
Daly.
Scott Daly. Okay, I was wondering if it was Jojo Doman or Kalecki Hudson or Charlie Hewlett or William.
I would pronounce that Karlecki, but sure.
Okay, William.
What's it? Jojo Doman, and then underneath is that's the weirdest spelling
Felipe
for
Franks.
I've ever seen.
Yeah, he was drafted as a quarterback. He plays tight end now, so he's cool. 48. Moving on. Are you taking Bryce Huff or are you taking Josie Jewell?
I'm taking Scott Daly. What do you mean?
Are you legitimately taking Scott Daly?
I'm taking Josie Jewell.
You're taking Josie Jewell. Okay.
Yeah.
At 48, I've got Bud Dupree as the only name that has any value to it, and that's saying something because shout out Bud Dupree, but he hasn't been good since like Madden Mobile 16. Jelani Tavai is there. Shout out Patriots. Wonderful player, Jelani Tavai. But I think Bud Dupree's had a bit of a better season. I know he comes off the edge a little bit more.
Christensen.
Bud Dupree's had
Mitchell Fraboni.
Bud Dupree has 5 sacks this season. All right, he's all right. He's not too bad. Why does JT Gray have 13 as his average or his value?
Okay, Hunter Camp Mover. What are these names?
Hunter Camp Mover is a tight end that is not on a team. He was on the Chargers. He is not anymore. Anywho, we got to keep this moving.
Yeah, keep this moving.
49.
Just agree with you.
49 is a solid number. Solid number. Got 2 guys here. Tremaine Edmonds and Frankie Louvu. Ooh. And I need to check out Frankie Louvu's stats this year because I know he's talked up as being pretty good, but I need to check.
He's also on that team.
Yeah, the Panthers. 4.5 sacks, but 53 solo tackles. 53 solo tackles? Okay, yeah. Baller. 94 combined tackles. That's a considerable number. Frankie, 8 QB hits, 9 TFLs, 4.5 sacks.
That's 49 solos for Tremaine Edmonds and 35 assisted tackles for 84 total for Tremaine Edmonds.
Tremaine Edmonds is the Bears linebacker.
Getting out tackled. Yep.
But Tremaine's more of a coverage linebacker than anything. And I know Frankie Louvu comes off the edge a bit. I don't know. I just like Tremaine Edmonds a little bit more. I don't know what it is, but
Tremaine's kind of gotten like a really good status as kind of like the the head honcho of the Bears defense.
Yeah.
So I feel like that extra like level to it over. I don't know what Frankie Louvu's kind of impact is there, but I do know Tremaine Edmonds. So that would make me lean towards Tremaine Edmonds, despite the statistical so far being in favor of Frankie Louvu. It's linebackers, so stats
Yeah.
aren't really the greatest thing to go off of. But I'm a big on Edmonds there.
On to 50, we've got some really interesting names here. I'm just going to read out a couple. We got Greg Rousseau. We got Kyle Van Noy. We got Chase Winovich. These are Patriots guys that I recognize. And then we've got Justin Houston and Willie Gay Jr. And then I've notably left one name out that I'm sure you have written down. And that is because that's who I'm taking. But that is Vita Vea, wears number 50. And he is a phenomenal nose tackle.
Did you even mention Shaquille Leonard, or did you just...
Oh, did I skip over Shaq Leonard? Oh, it's because he I think he's only worn that number with the Eagles.
He's 50 with the Eagles right now.
No, he's 53 with the Eagles right now.
What I'm seeing is 53 with the Colts his whole career and 50 with the Eagles.
Yeah, if you go on his PFR page, it says Colts 53, Eagles 50, Eagles 53.
Oh. He went ahead and made that switch quickly.
Yes, he did.
All right. Well, we'll be seeing him for 53. Tune in next week. See his competition then.
I'm gonna go ahead and
Justin
take Vita.
Houston still being in the league is crazy to me. I felt like he was out of it.
Yeah.
Probably like 2 years ago.
Willie Gay's been pretty good this year, if I remember correctly, as a linebacker.
Yeah, he's been Chiefs. A really good tandem with Nick Bolton, and then Nick Bolton went down, and then it was like, oh, he's a really good tandem by himself.
But, and then Justin Houston, I mean, shout out, 112 sacks in his career.
Career-wise, this would be him all day.
Absolutely. He is, big shout outs to Justin Houston. Big player, good player. But
do you want to do me a favor and try to pronounce Vita Vea's full name?
I feel like not getting canceled today, so I'm gonna go ahead and pass on that one. I don't even have it pulled up, but okay, yeah. It's on your screen right now, ladies and gentlemen. Yep. You can try to pronounce it if you want to. That'll be fun to do in editing, to type all that out, because I will not copy paste it. I will force myself to type it out.
Yeah, and just have it it'll sprawl past our faces. It's gonna.
I'll make the font small enough. It would be funny if it just went off the screen. It'd be very funny, but no, I'll hook it up.
I will agree with your pick of Vita Vea simply because we're going with the now, and I would not be taking Houston in the now.
Yeah,
but that will conclude our players by number segment here.
For today, we got 51 through 60, which will be a much better grouping than 51 or 41 to 50. I believe
we were lucky to get one player for every spot, and I mean, there's a reason Jack Campbell even was considered.
Yeah, I feel like everybody else had some decent, at least a decent role player there, but we've got lists where, we've got a list where we're choosing between like Christian McCaffrey, Jair Alexander, and Marshawn Lattimore, and then down the board we're like, Justice Hill or Andrew Van Ginkel. shout out to both
Johnson
and John Johnson. Yeah.
All right, you want to kick us off with some stocky
stocks? So Dolphins lost, so they went down to 700 a share where they were at 750, and if they win this week, right, they'll be 10-4, and they'll be up to 725. But if they lose this week, they go down to 9-5, and they'll lose another $50. They'll be down to 650. And honestly, I'm gonna do the boring thing. I'm sorry. I am extremely sorry to the fans. I am very sorry, but I am just gonna be going ahead and selling $2,100 of Dolphin stock, and I will be ending the season of stock of Stock Watch with $3,200 in the bank.
Now I'm at a predicament because I didn't expect the Bears to win last week.
Yeah, we didn't really touch on that game, did we?
No. We don't need to. Next week they face the Browns. Joe Flacco. The Bears have a good defense of late, and I don't know what to do here because I can either run with my money, um, or I can keep trying to just let them rock because it's the Browns next. After that, it's the Cardinals, so I could see a quick little 3-win streak coming for them, um, and just see my money pile up, especially when they play the Falcons in Week 17 and then end the year with the Packers, who I don't know what to think about the Packers anymore, and I don't
Yeah.
know what the Packers would do when faced with a semi-competent defense from the Bears.
Yeah.
Um,
I just want to put this out there. The Bears, if they lose this week, so if they go to 5-9, you only lose $25 on them. So that you're still at an improvement from last week when they were 4-8 or 4-8, and you made $50 by them going up. So even if you hold them this week and they lose, you're still at an improvement. And if they win this week, then you're at a bigger improvement. And then they've got an easy-ish game the next week and the next week. So
and the next, like, as
yeah,
long as they keep some offensive production going, I could see some substantial gains from what was like considered last week. I was like, this might be a dead stock.
yeah,
um, and I'm also going to be holding on to the Panthers for the same kind of reason that if they lose, I'm really not losing much. But
you
if they
can't. Yeah,
win like one game, then I gain, like, I think they go up $50 per.
yeah,
Yeah.
for one
So
win.
just need one. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Special teams coordinator who fired the offense coaches. Let's do this. Steve Tabor. I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Anywho, yeah.
I will be rocking with my stocks for
So
the
you're
rest of
rocking
the
with your stocks, not selling anything and not buying anything?
year. No. Nope, I'm sticking with that. I have my money in the bank, which I am not going to touch because I don't want to lose profit.
Yeah. At this point, I'm thinking about investing in the Chiefs. I'm thinking about investing in a couple teams, but I just can't be confident in anything.
Yeah,
And
I I'm the same where I would kind of put more money into the Bears because I have the money to do it, but that's feels like banking too much on the Bears when I could just kind of stick with the money and just see it either go up or go down slightly.
yeah, if I were the problem with the Chiefs is if I were to buy them and they win two straight, right? Which I looked at their matchups earlier and that seemed like a possible thing. So if they win two straight, they make me $50. And I just don't want to like I don't want to gamble, you know,
Yeah,
two
risk
grand
reward.
on
Yeah.
$100. So I'm gonna do the boring thing, and this is where I'm gonna call my stock moves over for the year. I'm gonna go into the off season with 3,200 in the bank. I have more than doubled my money that I had when I started the season, and it does leave a little bit of a bitter taste. The last stock move that happened for me is the Dolphins losing value, but yeah, it is what it is. Honestly, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I think we can get on into pick'ems if you are okay with that.
Yep.
All right, rapid fire. I've got Chargers over Raiders, Packers over Bucks, Dolphins over Jets. I did not, I did not pick a team in the Giants and Saints game. I'm gonna just wing
Fantastic.
it and pick the Giants. I've got Titans over Texans, 49ers over Cardinals, which I am locking. And let me just move that lock logo over. Rams over Commanders, Cowboys over Bills, Eagles over Seahawks, Ravens over Jaguars, Chiefs over Patriots, Falcons over Panthers, Bengals over Vikings, Browns over Bears, Lions over Broncos, and Colts over Steelers. The only one that I kind of want to talk about a little bit more is the uh, where was it? The Ravens and Jaguars game, and also the Bears and Browns. Ravens Jaguars. I don't know what's going on with either team. I'm gonna keep it a buck. The Jaguars could be great, but I feel like they're not 100% healthy. And at that point, I just don't want to put any stock into them, especially with the Ravens having a strong defense and a strong offense, where the Browns kind of just had a strong defense and then their offense came alive. So I think if the Ravens can kind of pop off against the Jags defense, which we just saw happen last week, that'll be good. And then Bears Browns. That Browns defense is so damn good. It's hard to bet against them in any game just because that defense can shut down any team. at all.
Mm-hmm.
And with the Bears offense being as, wishy-washy as it
Wishy-washy.
has been, it's tough to put stock into it. As much as I would love to see the Bears win. The other thing is it's the Browns at home. And if there's a kind of a
Dog
toss
pound.
up, I'll take the home team most times.
Yep. Just looking at some differences we had. I'm gonna be taking the Raiders over the Chargers.
Dude, they just
The
put up 0 points against the fucking Vikings.
You say that, but I have never been more sure of myself in Brandon Staley's ability to lose a game.
Okay,
So
there you go. You've
there's
redeemed your
that.
take.
And then there's Easton Stick to account for.
It's Easton. Never mind. 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 Never mind.
I was like, I saw you pick the Chargers, and I was like, okay, so he's got Easton Stick over AOC. I guess. I mean,
I mean, yeah.
it's their own, but like, it's just. I mean, that's valid, but like, come on, you got to think about the rest of the team here.
Yeah.
um, I also have the Packers over the Bucks. I have the Dolphins over the Jets. Um, I have the Giants over the Saints. The Texans Titans game really just comes down to who's going to be healthy for the Texans. Concussion protocols, knee injuries, that wide receiver and tight end. Like, I mean, they collapsed. Their injury is like a mile long. Their
Yeah.
injury report.
I did
Um,
forget to say it, but I also did want to say that if Stroud is healthy, I would rethink my pick. And if we get clarification on that later in the week, if he's good to go, check my Twitter. I will update that pick and I'll put it out on Twitter before that game starts, whether I'm picking Texans or Titans in that
if
one.
I was really hoping I could put a lock on the Texans this week, but after that, it's hard. We got Cardinals and Niners going Niners, the Rams, Commanders, the Rams, um, Cowboys and Bills. Josh Allen looked really good. I feel like when we were talking about the game, we really just talked about the rough stuff. Josh Allen played probably his, to me, one of the best games. Like, he's had really good performances so far. The team has as well, but like that felt like he was putting the team on his back and doing the most with it. Still, I feel like it's going to be hard for their defense to stop the Cowboys from rolling on through. And then we have some similar picks for a long stretch. Eagles over Seahawks, Ravens over Jags, the Chiefs over the Patriots with the bounce back game, the Falcons over the Panthers. The Bengals are going to beat the Vikings, and then I am going to be siding with the Bears because I mean the Lions just lost to them, and it's Joe Flacco. So I really hope that I mean maybe Joe Flacco has that. He's had like 5 passing touchdowns. He's having that late 40-year-old reappearance,
Hey,
but
he's 38. All right, chill out.
I feel like with how I just saw the Bears defense kind of pick apart Ben Johnson's play calling. I don't think the less exciting play calling of the Browns is gonna stack up offensively if the Bears can get anything going offensively against their defense.
My only point of contention is that the Bears recently have just always seemed to have the Lions number. Like they've just even in the games
Mm-hmm.
they lose, it's like they probably
Barely.
should have won that game. And it just seems like the Bears have one up on the Lions. So I don't put too much stock into those wins where I'm like, oh, the Bears are elite because they've been doing well against the Lions. And Justin Fields always goes off against the Lions, whatever it is.
I'll tell you what it is. Defensively, we cannot beat mobile quarterbacks, and we just haven't been able to since this regime takeover. So of course we're gonna get gashed by him. But I feel like this game it wasn't even so much him running the ball that gashed us.
He did have a
Um,
solid rushing line though.
mhm. The so there's our big difference. But I also have the Lions being the Broncos. I'm really just banking on the Lions having a bounce back game here, but the Broncos have been rolling since they were 1-5. So it's going to be a hard team to beat, and I'm taking the fact that they're at home was the close edge there, like you said. And then for the last game of the week, Steelers Colts. I'm going to be taking the Colts here, and I'm also going to be taking the Colts with a certain lock symbol by it because if you If you get beat by the Patriots, I'm not feeling so hot about you.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it keeps my streak going. And well, actually, nah,
and
I
the
won't do
streak,
that. That's too
and
tempting.
the streak. Oh,
That's no, I wasn't even thinking about ending the streak. That's how
you were gonna put it
true
on the
to
Raiders
myself I
instead,
am.
dude. You gotta stop blocking
I
those Monday
was
Night Football games. You know what happened last time.
You're right. Damn. Okay. I doubt I've ever locked the Falcons. Hold
See,
on.
that is not a game I would lock the Falcons in. No game is a game I would lock the Falcons in.
And my current options are like Colts, Falcons, Saints,
Raiders.
Texans, Titans.
If you're so
I've
confident
blocked the
about
Raiders
Brandon
before.
Staley, you
I've blocked
have?
the Raiders before. Yes.
What? How?
Blocked
When?
them and I was wrong. It was the Bears' like first win. It was the
Oh,
Bears
right.
Raiders game. That was horrendous, and it was like, oh, this is gonna suck, and it was wrong.
That's right.
It was like the first time they looked confident. Anyway, if I wanted to be a loser like you, I'd
the
pick
Raiders.
the freaking 49ers. All right, but I'm
Dude,
not.
you know how it goes. You've seen how
I
it
like
goes.
the Packers, right? I'm struggling to find people here, but I'm not gonna lose them.
You're too
I
into it
could
now.
go
You're
like
too...
I could go Titans, and then if CJ Stroud's healthy, I switch it to Texans. But I'm not gonna be
I
doing
feel
all
like
that.
you've locked
No,
the
no, no.
Texans. Well, you did. You locked them last week. Or you didn't lock them
Oh,
last week. You
no, I
almost
didn't
locked
because
them.
I moved it to Packers.
But even then, healthy CJ Stroud did
Even
not
then,
look good.
Yeah. All I know is I'm gonna be struggling as I try
All
to
right,
keep this
just
streak.
throw it on the Colts, and we'll worry about the rest in the future weeks. Even though the Colts have some shitty matchups to end the year.
At some point, man, it's gonna have to be the freaking Cardinals.
He's gonna
I'm
lock the
scared.
Panthers one of these weeks. Thank y'all for watching. That's the end of Pick'ems and the episode. We're winding it down. Stick with us next week again. Players by number, of course, as we do.
I do want to teaser. We will have a cool topic introducing itself next week, so keep an eye on that. It's playoff oriented.
Hey, why'd you delete that shit? How am I supposed to make a title?
I put it back.
Okay.
I put it back, homie.
Okay.
Jeez. I understood my mistake.
Y'all take it easy.